Yes, you. Welcome to the You're Not Getting Any Younger podcast, a podcast for people who want to disrupt their lives for a good reason, to make it count. I'm your host, Jen Glantz, and every week I'll drop a new episode with stories from real people just like you, who woke up one morning and decided to make big changes, starting with small things. We'll cover topics like entrepreneurship, love, failure, and self-care. Hey, you're not getting any younger, so let's make this an adventure. Ready? Today's episode is brought to you by Jen and Juice Coaching by yours truly. For the past 5 years, I've worked with over 100 people to help them feel, less stuck. Whether you're looking to change careers, start a side hustle, or just get a strategy for your life, head on over to jenglantz.com/coaching and you can find out about my 1-hour coaching specials that will help you feel like you can finally cross those things off your to-do list and start whatever kind of project, life change, or dream that you have. Something they were looking forward to, or they were planning, or they were hoping for is no longer happening, or it's no longer happening in the capacity that they wanted to. And I started to think everyone's finish lines right now are so blurred. And I thought about that for myself. You know, I've mentioned on the show a lot that I'm a runner now. I run miles, and by miles I mean 5. But I'm a runner. I consider myself a runner. But when I'm running, I'm always thinking about the finish line. Yeah, I relax and I feel good, but I'm always just thinking about the finish line. Like, it's the same finish line every time I run. I always end by my house. I always plan so that my final mile leads me to my front door. And I'm always thinking about the finish line. And that's what we always think about in life. Like, whatever you're working on, whatever you're hoping for, you're always thinking about the finish line. Whether it's planning a vacation and all you do is plan because you're imagining yourself sitting on the beach one day. Or maybe it's graduation, and during those late night study sessions and the moments where you just want to quit biology, you push forward because you think about the finish line. You think about walking across the stage. Or maybe it's your wedding. You plan for so long, you are so overwhelmed by the feeling of being engaged that all you're thinking about is that one day, that one day. It's your finish line. And maybe it's your job. You know, maybe you put so much hours in your job and so much stress and heart and sweat into this job because you're waiting for your finish line, which is a promotion or a raise or a simple thank you. I used to wait for my finish line of a thank you at work, and most of the time it didn't happen. And when I was thinking about this, how everyone's finish lines right now are so messed up, and that's hard for us to accept because for a lot of us, we're finish line people. You know, we're always looking for that end. It can be really tough. And some people would sit there and say, well, if you don't have a finish line or the finish line is pushed back, why not just sit back and enjoy the journey? You know, you hear gurus all the time saying it's all about the journey, but that's not how I think. It's not about the journey. For people like me, it is about the finish line. And the more I thought about this, the more I started to think about it like this. Maybe what we think is our finish line is just our halfway point. Because so what? We cross it. We graduate, we get married, we get the promotion. But aren't we always thinking about what's next anyway? So if there is no finish line right now, maybe instead of sulking in the sadness of what we've planned for, what we hoped for, what we wanted isn't gonna happen, maybe we get started on what's next. So what does that mean for you? Well, maybe you're not walking with a cap and gown on graduation like you planned for so many years, but what were you planning to do next anyway? And maybe you got laid off or furloughed or fired, and you won't get that raise or that promotion. And now you have to fight to get a new job. But what did you want to do next anyway? Maybe you didn't even like your job, and now is a time to plan for something else instead. And I know you have bills to pay, but maybe it's time to think about your creative skills and how you can translate that into different jobs to get money. Maybe you're like me and your wedding is postponed, but what did you want to do after the wedding anyway? And probably your answer is go on a honeymoon, and well, that's off the table too. So what's next? What's after that? What were you looking forward to? And maybe that's having a hobby with your spouse, or saving up for a home, or just taking some time to do nothing. You know, that's okay too. But what do I think that it means for me is I'm going to stop looking at the finish line. I'm going to stop looking at the wedding that I'm not having, or a lot of the projects I thought were going to go through that are not right now. And I'm going to think about what's next. And that's going to be my new focus, which is to say, if this year isn't working out the way you wanted it to, and those finish lines are not so clear, they're blurred, keep thinking about what's next for you and what you can get started on in the meantime. And I know that's a tough message. I know that's not what you want to hear, but I'm not going to tell you to enjoy the journey because, well, sometimes that's given, and sometimes the journey isn't the good part. Sometimes it is the ending. So if you don't have an ending and you're stuck in the middle, why not change paths? Why not switch things up? Why not choose your own adventure style here? Because everything is so blurred, there are so many opportunities to just mess things up a little bit or to just figure out what's next. As always, it's me, Jen Glantz, cheering you on. Hey you! Thank you for listening to the You're Not Getting Any Younger podcast. There are hundreds of thousands of pods out there, so thank you for listening to this one. You can find the show notes for this week's episode up on our website, anyyounger.com. Subscribe, rate, and review the You're Not Getting Any Younger podcast on iTunes so that other ears around the world can listen too. Oh, and join our secret You're Not Getting Any Younger Facebook group, where over 1,000 people are talking about how to disrupt their lives, for a good reason, to make it count. Until next week, all my love, Jen Glantz.